Hi everybody, what am I doing here? I've got California wine to talk about. How often does this happen? Never. This never happens. This is unusual. This is Subject to Change Wine Company out in Mendocino. Alex Pomerantz. Um, Subject to Change. I think Alex started making wine, started Subject to Change in 2017, and I think the name originally actually because he started it with a pair of friends, they were going to name it something else, but they weren't sure what to name it yet, and so they named it Subject to Change as a placeholder, but then they stuck with it. That sort of partnership fell apart, and then he pivoted and he started making wine with a friend, and that ended up not really working out. And he went through several different wineries, just like spaces that were way too small for what he was doing. And now I think he's in his own winery, and things seem to be going really well. The wines are delicious, you know, for what that's worth. The wines are pretty awesome. Try to not break this glass. He makes a lot of different wines, and it sort of feels to me like when he talks about why he started Subject to Change, he talks about, he loved wine. He was a wine drinker. He loved wine. He loved exciting, different, interesting natural wines. He loved experiencing, discovering new wines. And that has really carried through in his winemaking. He makes so many different cuvées. He's constantly making new wines, working with new vineyards, coming up with different things. It's like when a record collector or record store owner goes and starts a record label or something like that, it can be really hard for them to be like, okay, I'm just going to work with this small, like these 4 bands or something. I'm going to start here. You're so excited about what you're doing that you want to do everything. But props to Alex, because it seems like he's making it work. This here, FKA, is a field blend from the Open Hand Ranch in Mendocino. This is Merlot, Pinotage, and Chardonnay, 40%, 38%, 22%. The Pinotage and the Chardonnay, he ferments in a method that he calls reverse saignee, where he takes the grapes together and he puts half of the fruit in a tank, unpressed, just like whole cluster, and then he direct presses the other half of the fruit and he pumps it into the tank and like pumps it over, so that he has effectively like twice the volume of juice to the amount of skins that he would have had if he did a normal, press and let the juice ferment with the skins. So he has a higher ratio of juice to skins. There's a method, saignee fermentation method, where you bleed some juice off to concentrate your juice on the skins, at a higher ratio of skins to juice, so that you get more tannin and color. And he's going for the opposite of that here. And then so that ferments, and then eventually it gets pressed off and it gets put into a big, huge, old, I forget how many thousands of liter, like oak foudre that's neutral. The Merlot is destemmed, ferments, destemmed, pressed, ferments with the skins. I want to say that was 9 days, something like 9 days. And then it goes into some little neutral, I think they were 225 liter oak barrels, so smaller barrels. It ages there. The wine's all aged for I forget how long, 6 months. And then eventually it all gets assembled, blended together. 0 sulfur, no fining, no filtration, no additives to it. And this is 12.5%. The Open Hand Ranch, it's an organic family farm, 10 hectares in Mendocino. They use a lot of like biodiversity and regenerative farming principles, so they're sort of like beyond, they're not just basic, I shouldn't say just, they are not by the book organic farming. It's a little bit more involved and thoughtful and complicated than that. And I'm just excited I've actually already had a bottle of this, but I'm excited to drink this tonight because it's so refreshing and fun. It smells real juicy. like blackberries, cherries, raspberry. It's very juicy, fresh fruit. It's not, cooked, concentrated, sun-dried. It's not that stuff. Yep, fresh, juicy, ripe berries. A little bit of like a brambly, leafy thing there. Juicy, fun, smooth, really vibrant. Has a little bit of tannin. Not too much, but just right. But fresh, vivid acidity. There's a tiny bit of effervescence, like just a prickle on my tongue, sort of on the mid palate, like just a little like hee hee in your ribs to like remind you that it's there and that this is a wild zero sulfur wine. It'll probably blow off pretty quick. It's like a tart cherry, raspberry, tart cherry and raspberry sort of profile. But it does have like a little bit of like a darker, peppery, and those tannins, the mid palate and the finish. There's ripe fruit. I mean, you see me, I keep doing that because it's like it is lip smacking. Both the acidity, the sort of like racy, prickly acidity, and the tannin that this has got. It's not aggressive, but it's there and it lingers. It's a zippy red wine. It's zippy while still being ripe and juicy, and having, it's not big and heavy, of course, by any means, but it lingers on the palate. It has presence and it like lingers and hangs on. I think that's really cool. I think that is really nice. Well, there you go. 2021 FKA Redfield blend from Subject to Change.